Hi guys, Jenny with On Fire Fit, and welcome to another episode of Choose My Shoes. This is Etiquette Part 2. But first, let's do an overview of the shoes, and then I'll tell you where we're going with it today. Okay, I don't know if this is going to be a really long video until I edit it at the very end, but I hope you will bear with me. These are the shoes that I will be trying on, and a couple of them I do think probably more appropriate with stockings, so I'll put those on, and then some are not. So, but there is a definite reason why I picked these shoes. They are going to tie into our message, and so I hope that you stick with me. I know that these kinds of videos are probably fairly unique, but this is how my mind thinks, so I hope that you'll understand me. Even if one person does, I'll be happy. Okay, here we go. Etiquette Part 2, and I hope that all of my thoughts make sense. I have thought about this a lot. I've prayed about it a lot. And interestingly enough, which I don't believe that things happen on accident, I think things happen for a reason. And my belief too is that God definitely brings things to our awareness at the right time. And He also has this perfect plan. And this morning, before, and I knew I was going to be filming this video, I looked at the verse of the day. We have a little calendar in our restroom that has the verse of the day, and I looked at that, and it was in Colossians. Then I have a Bible app that I use every day, and the verse of the day was from Colossians. So I was like, might God be leading me to Colossians? So I went to Colossians, and I'm like, are you even kidding me, God? Okay, I know it's all coming together, and it's all going to make a lot of sense to me, but not so much sure if everyone else will get it, but I hope it does. So I'm going to blend all of this in, and hopefully it makes sense to you. So on my first part of my etiquette video, I think that a lot of people got the message of what I was trying to articulate, and I think that that was super, I don't know, enlightening to me and very hopeful for me, because I think that sometimes messages that we put out there don't always get received the way we intended. There were some comments, though, that were not really in line with all the stuff that I talked about, and it didn't frustrate me and it didn't make me upset or anything, but it did reveal to me a little bit more of why that might be happening. And so that's what I'm talking about today. When we think about what's going on in the world, and I think that we all have different opinions about what exactly is going on, but I'm just going to share some of my thoughts on this, because I do think that it really has a lot to do with our individual lives. So years ago, there was a movement for making women move up in society, and it was, I believe, a very well-intentioned movement. Some people call it women's lib, whatever you want to put on that title. I believe that it was very well intentioned, because women were going and doing work and not getting paid for this, paid the same as men, perhaps in certain jobs. There was some inequality in that area, and so I do think that we needed to move in a new direction in that area. Unfortunately, the part that I think got misconstrued was that it became a beating down of men, disrespecting men, saying we don't need men. And I'm not saying in my life, because I did not grow up with that mentality, nor did I see that in my own home. I have parents that are very loving and good to each other and stuff like that. But as a general rule in society, what we saw was the original intent was to try to help empower and raise up women. Unfortunately, what ended up happening in a lot of areas is we're going to just stomp on men to get ahead. And I think most of us can recognize that that's not really the best way to go about anything in life. We even see posts all the time about women supporting other women and not stepping on them to get ahead. But we've done that with men. And then I think it's interesting that we're surprised that as we beat down men, disrespected them, and treated them like we don't need them, that we end up with people that don't have manners. Men don't know how to act. They don't know what to say. We have disintegrated role models, because if we say we don't need fathers, well, where's the role model coming from for them to learn and grow? If women say we don't need you, we're inadvertently saying we don't respect you, so we don't really care what you say. So men end up not knowing what to do, what to say, and not feeling respected. Now, many years ago, I remember very distinctly hearing this, and I don't remember the source, but I think it is very, very true that in life, in general, maybe not for you, but I'm just going to say in general, it made sense to me because I see this play out, is men truly want to be respected and women want to be cherished. Not to say we don't want to be respected as women, and not to say men don't want to be cherished, but I think when we get to the root of things, men want to be respected and they actually need to be respected, and women need to feel cherished. And that's kind of that symbiotic relationship and the way that God made us. Remember that God made man and woman, and that includes all colors, all races, the genders, male and female. He created us in his image. That means that we are all looking like him. So whether you're a woman or a man, whether you're a different color, we all look like God. He made us with his qualities. He built things into us that are a part of him. So when we as women say to men, we don't respect you, we don't need you, we don't think that you bring any value to our lives, we are in effect saying, God, that part of you, I don't need. And what ends up happening is you disintegrate the foundation of what is truly what we are all about. If we were made in God's image and he went to the extent of sending his son to die for us, save us while we were sinners, not when we got ourselves cleaned up. He came because his love for us was that much that he came into this world. He sacrificed his own son. We are of value to him. And when you feel valuable by your creator, you know your place in the world. We see a lot of perhaps things that are a little too edgy or selfish or self-indulgent in the world. I think I work with a lot of teenage girls who don't know how to present themselves. Perhaps they are looking a little bit too racy, and that's all, I'm not even going to put judgment on that, because I do think that the thing that is really screaming out or crying out is a lack of value. And when you don't have a sense of value, then you look for validation any which way you can. And so a lot of times, not just the teenagers, but any of us in this world, when we don't know our value and that God loves us just who we are, without anything that we do and without anything that we accomplish or whatever, when we know our value, we don't need validation coming from all the wrong places and in all the wrong ways. The thing that ends up happening though is when you don't feel that value, you put a lot of stuff out there looking for validation. And in the moment, you get that instant validation by perhaps whatever somebody says, you're getting some attention. Maybe it's not the best kind of attention, but if you don't value yourself, it doesn't matter as much. And so if people are saying things to you that are a little crude and rude, maybe you don't feel like that's really what you were after, but you're glad for the attention. If you really know your value, then you would say, you know what, I don't want to be talked to that way. I want to feel cherished. And I'm speaking as a woman. I want to feel cherished. I don't want to feel like I am only a pair of feet or only a pair of legs. I want to feel like somebody sees all of me. And so the problem though is that we have devalued men so much. There's no respect, and we have not trained men or women really. We haven't trained men in the area of good manners and good etiquette and how you cherish a woman. And because of that, all they're doing is putting out messages to get validation back, and they don't know how to do that. So if we feel like things are all messed up in our world, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that people don't know their value in God's eyes, and then they don't know how to relate to each other. Because if we're stomping on each other to get ahead, and we forget that we were all made in God's image to work together in a beautiful harmony, then it's not gonna work. It just doesn't work. And the thing that is so interesting always to me, and we are going to get to the shoes, but this came first because I have a purpose. So sorry if it seems like I'm going on and on, but this is important. So I really think that when we get to the point where we realize that we were all made together in God's image, and that we should be showing respect and cherish and know our position, we are going to have the most beautiful way of responding and acting with one another. And so when I hear the comments and things like that are not really what I intended, it's not really reflecting the message that I put out there, I don't feel offended or upset. I actually feel bad because I know that so many people don't even know that that's not what a woman really wants, and yet they haven't been trained. And so I do think that one of the best things we can do is be patient and loving, be humble, willing to show kindness, and learn how to respect each other. And I think that you will feel better about yourself too, and you'll have a more depth of character when you follow things the way that God intended. He always has a good plan, and unfortunately, either we as people or Satan twist it and pervert it, and so then we end up with, okay, this isn't what we intended. Just like the whole idea with the women's lib movement, it started off with a good reason, and then it gets twisted because we all know that it does not help anybody to step on somebody on your way up. And so that whole dynamic really was a perversion of the original intent of what God would want. One of the things that's very controversial in the Bible that kind of goes along with this train of thought, interestingly enough, came from Colossians, which I did not know. I knew I was going to be talking about this particular verse today, but when I went into the Bible and it was going to play into all of these shoe things, then that verse was in there too. And I'm like, are you even kidding me? It's like all come together. The verse that talks about wives submit to your husbands is highly controversial. And even when I speak that phrase in Christian circles, people freak out. And I know why, because it sounds like you're putting yourself down, or it sounds like you are saying you're less than. And it's exactly not that. The whole beauty of the way that God created us was so that we would learn how to live in peace and harmony with each other. I have found this verse to be extremely applicable to me in my life, as well as my relationship with my husband. And it has brought me a great deal of peace. I have never felt like I am less than or lower or being pushed down by submitting to my husband. I believe that God had a perfect plan for how we are to relate to each other. And so let me explain a little bit more about that. So first of all, if you want to interchange that word with honor your husband, that sometimes makes people feel a little bit more at ease. Or respect, that's another word that we can use. And sometimes people will say, well, what if they don't deserve respect? Well, that's another video for another time. But I do believe that even in those circumstances, as long as there's no harm, physical violence, and that kind of stuff going on, I do still think that a wife praying for her husband will start to change his heart. But that's like a whole nother topic. So the whole point of that verse, and then we don't want to forget the verse that follows it. Husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. Okay, the whole thing about this is that when you truly love, respect, and pray for your husband as a woman, you will be willing to state your opinion, give your thoughts on a matter, and then as long as it's not an issue that's going against the Bible or something, you can agree to disagree and then say, you know what, I'm going to trust that your choice is the one that we're going to go with, because we need to have the ability sometimes to come to either a compromise or to be willing to hear the other side and trust that perhaps that's another route we can take. Perfect example for me recently is this whole situation with the virus. I feel that my way of wearing a mask or being in interaction with people is different than my husband. And we have children, so we have to guide them into what's the best thing for them. And everybody's doing something different. Some people are just having parties. Other people are completely avoiding all other interaction with people. I'm kind of like in the middle. Let's be safe, but I don't want to completely seclude myself. My husband's pretty much like that, but he's got another extra layer of protection that he even wants more distance. And even though it may not completely jive with how I feel, I am willing to say, you know what, this is how I feel about it, but since you feel strongly, I'm going to submit to you and let's do it your way, because it's not going to harm anyone. It's not going to be a problem for our children or whatever. But it brings us to a point of harmony, because I'm able to see that he may have a good reason. And I also trust that perhaps if his way is not perfect, that the Lord will direct it in the right direction. I don't have to control the situation. I can state my case, I can state my opinion, and then I can submit and know that God's going to guide and direct that. And what that does is it provides respect toward my husband. I respect your opinion, even if it's not mine. And so therefore, out of respect for you, I'm going to submit to that. And it creates a amazing feeling, because guess what? He shows cherishing toward me. He cherishes me for showing him respect. It becomes this beautiful thing. You may not have that intent when you start, but knowing that God has this beautiful way of having us relate to each other makes it so beautiful. And so rather than saying, I'm not going to submit to a man, he doesn't know better than me, or having this kind of an attitude, that creates division, turmoil, tension, relationships blowing up, divorce, everything else. So if we could get to the point where we learn how to relate to each other in that beautiful way, we are building up each other. I build up my husband, he builds up me, and it's this beautiful relationship. Not perfect, but beautiful. So how do we go about this? How do we retrain people to learn how to respect each other and learn how to have the ability to cherish somebody in the way that they really want to feel it, and not just putting vulgar comments that you wouldn't say to their face, or you wouldn't say, some of these guys say things that you wouldn't say that in front of my husband. I know you wouldn't, because you'd get clocked. But it's because you haven't learned, and I'm here to teach you. Anyway, I just hope that it makes sense to you. If you know your value in God's eyes and you understand how we tick, I believe that you will start to go to the other side where you show respect and we cherish each other and we do things the way that really God intended. Now, the verses that are going to apply to the shoe situation here come from Colossians, and I am going to talk us through that. So I'm going to flip the camera, or actually just bring it closer, and I'm going to show you as I go, and then I'll show you all the clips at the end. And should I do a runway walk? Maybe. And don't forget the prayer. And this is going to be a very long video. Okay, but I hope that it all comes together. So we're going to talk about how we learn how to walk in this new way of thinking, and the shoes are going to help us do that little metaphor talk. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. So coming from the book of Colossians, chapter 3, starting at verse 12. This is where I got this thought this morning of how I was going to incorporate this. Therefore, as God's chosen people, and that's you are one of God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved. Remember, you are dearly loved, and holy just means set apart, not perfect. So get over the word holy and just realize that you were set apart for His love and His goodness and His mercy. So therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with, okay, here's our clothes. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I was never a fan of trying on clothes because I don't like going back to the dressing room and just seemed like it took too much time. Clothing myself in shoes, yes, because I can just do it right there on the spot, put them on, and it can make an outfit, and it can just take an outfit that was so-so and it can turn it into a wowza. So I love to clothe myself in shoes, but here we're going to talk metaphorically about how we can learn how to respect and cherish, which is all a part of etiquette and manners and being old-fashioned and doing it God's way. Okay, so here it is. Clothe yourselves with, which pair do you think represents compassion? Okay, so I kind of had my idea. Let's go with, okay, I realized that I had them out of order and that I forgot a pair. So I added, so if you notice a little change of scenery here, we are going to start with number 1, compassion. All right, so let me move my Bible out of the way so I can do this. So compassion, we're going to talk as I go. Compassion. These shoes in particular, I feel like are kind of a business shoe because they're, somebody remind me of what this kind of thing is called. It's a very kind of a new way of looking at an old style, the men's style of shoe. Is it wingtip? Okay, I'm not sure, but I think that's what I'm trying to say. These are Lamb by Gwen Stefani, and they're going to represent compassion because I feel like I need to express compassion not only toward people, but toward people that don't quite understand proper manners and etiquette, and that I don't need to judge their heart, but realize what the root of it is coming from. And it's because they were never trained, because women in general, not me in particular, but have kind of stomped on men on our way up, and that's not what we were intended. So the original design, you know, men's wingtip shoe. And here's a feminine version of it. And I believe we need to have compassion with one another so that we can learn what is really all about for their hearts, the other person's heart, and how we can treat them better. Okay, so there we go. Next up is going to be kindness. These are White House Black Market, and I did put on stockings, but I was not going to put them on in front of you because not only inappropriate, but also secondarily not the prettiest thing to watch. Okay, so why did I pick this one? Kindness. I talked about the symbiotic relationship. Here we are, we're tied together. We are not above or below. We are all made in God's image. Kindness is just part of being human and loving each other in the way that God intended. So here we go. This is kindness. So there we go. White House Black Market. Okay, we had compassion, we had kindness, and now we have humility. So this pair is Joan and David. That's a favorite around here. So these are a little mule, and they are, let me see, I don't know if I can get it close enough that you can see that it's kind of like a velvety material. And the reason I picked a mule was because, as I said in a prior video, mules are stubborn and not thinking of others, and humility is the opposite. We do not want to be a mule. We want to be full of humility, which is not meaning that you're less than somebody, but that you can open your heart and mind to look into somebody else's heart. And that is the reason for the mules. Okay, I'm just going to keep reminding you, what did we come from? Remember, Mama training you right now. Some of you don't need training, but I just like to say it. Compassion, kindness, humility, and guess what's next? Gentleness. Why would I pick this particular shoe for gentleness? Because quite honestly, it doesn't look too gentle. If I gave you that little swift kick in the booty with that because of you being whatever, not too gentle, but I did think it was sort of funny, so that's why I said it. Okay, Cesar Passati, I believe that's Italian, am I right? And I put these back on because with the closed toe, and it just seems appropriate to me. So here we go with gentleness. I do absolutely love these shoes. My one friend, my backstage hand, always says that this is a favorite pair as well. My husband bought these for me in Vegas one year. He goes away for a trip. Well, he goes several times a year for different reasons, but every once in a while he comes back with something beautiful like these. So what do you think? Does that represent what I think it represents? Gentleness? All right, like I said, I'll show you these all at the end too. And here we go. Compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, patience. Why did I pick this as patience? Probably the first reason is because you're going to have to be very patient with me as I put these on. I looked in my closet to see what is the hardest pair to put on. This might be the one. These are Chinese laundry. And yes, if you have patience with me, you are a true saint. Okay, so maybe not the hardest, but for whatever reason, this little strap is not very long. So it takes a lot of maneuvering and wiggling for me to get this onto my foot. And honestly, if I wear these shoes out, I have to have my husband to hold onto my hand because maybe I wouldn't fall. They actually don't look like you can walk in them, but they really are easy to walk in, but I think I'm just afraid I'm gonna fall. So, all right, that wasn't too bad. Let's see how we do with this one. Okay, so patience is a virtue, and I'm so glad that you're learning patience as I learn it. Isn't that one of the hardest things to learn, is patience? Because you ask for patience, pray for patience, and then when you're given opportunities to learn it, you're impatient because it's hard. Okay, the struggle is real, people. This strap, they just made it too short. I just think it's funny because I'm guessing most people don't know the backstory to how hard it is sometimes to get shoes on. Okay, so there we go. There's the Chinese laundry, the very impossible looking shoe. And I appreciate your patience. Okay, so as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, patience. Bear with one another and forgive whatever grievances you may have against one another. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. I picked these Christian Dior's because of the pink heel, which I think pink a lot of times represents love, correct? I guess I got a little scratch on that. Pink represents love in my eyes, and it is the base of everything. So all of these attributes we can put on when love is the thing that ties them together. So to me, these were a good choice for love. So here we go. Christian Dior with a little peep toe. I absolutely love these shoes. Everything about them, the peep toe, the patent, the pink heel, subtle, but it's there. It is the foundation of the shoe. As we wrap this up, I want you to remember that it all is held together by love. We don't need to stomp on each other to get ahead. We don't need to create a discord between us and others in order to move forward in life. And I think that if we can keep that in mind, women, let's respect men and show them respect, because they will start to live up to that respect and understand their heart if they are not. I know that there's different circumstances. Please don't use that as a blanket for all things where you have been disrespected, maybe in an abusive situation, but the general rule of thumb is that we need to show respect. Therefore, people start to live up to that. And men, when you cherish a woman, show them the love and kindness that you would towards your mom or your sister or your girlfriend or your wife, somebody that you want to be treated in a certain way. And you'll feel better. You really will. And it all boils down to our core, our relationship with God, how we see He has loved us with an everlasting love, that He only wants good for us, and that we can really learn how to walk this life with each other and with God in a way that is pleasing, and it's going to make you feel better. It really will. So let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body, you were called to peace. So this is how I believe we go about that. And instead of the twisted way that we have acted, we can start to build each other up in love and peace, So let's pray. Thank you, Father God, that you have just woven us together in such a beautiful way, that you made man and woman, all races, all colors, that we all are a part of you, represent you, that we were all made in your image, and that we have this blessing of learning how to love each other better. Please take the things that we've twisted or that Satan has used against us and help us to learn how to walk in compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, patience, and above all, love. And that we would just have relationships that feed us, grow us, and lead us closer to you. Thank you for each and every one that is here listening, and I just pray for your blessing upon them in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so I know this was long. Thank you for sticking with me if you have. Even if one person gets something out of this, I am more than happy, thrilled. In fact, it is like the heavens opened and rain pouring down on a dry land where there's a drought. I just feel like one person's comments that understand what I'm trying to say feels like rain from heaven. And so thank you for those of you in the past who have made comments that show me you get what I'm saying. For the rest of you, I understand why you don't get it. I really do. And that's the whole thing, is I'm looking into your heart and I understand that you were not treated right. You have not learned right. You were not trained right. And I love you anyway. And so we're just going to get through this together. So thanks for being with me. I hope that you are having an awesome day. And I hope that you'll live today and every day on fire. All right, here is the runway walk, including the shoes that were in the video. And I'll show you the whole outfit in pictures toward the end. But I can't imagine why people are telling me they would rather hear my voice than the music, but I feel like all I'm doing is talking. So I don't know. I guess I'll talk you through this. But just so you know, these are attributes that I think we can all learn how to put on, just like clothes. And we have the capacity to learn and grow in all of these various qualities just as easily as I'm putting on a pair of heels. But I would love to hear at the end what you think was the best pair of shoes for the outfit, and whether or not that has to do with the character. But do you struggle with any one of these character traits? I don't know if most people would say patience. I'm going to guess that might be the case, but currently in the world, I would say love seems to be a struggle, but I'd like to hear from you. So I would love to get your feedback. Also, do you like this kind of video? Do you like the high heel hallelujah, the choose my shoes? I love to hear back. And of course, I prefer the message to get out, but I understand not everybody's in that place in their life as far as what they're absorbing. And sometimes people are just in a escape mode, but I do want you to know that I pray for you, because I know that the people that come to my videos, you're not here by accident. And so I get the privilege and opportunity to pray for you. If there is something specific, let me know. We have a God of the impossible. And yes, I chose my words right in time for these shoes because they are the impossible shoes, but we have an impossible God. He does things we'd never fathom. So I, just want you to learn how to trust, just like I'm learning, and that we would put on love above all else, because truly this life is going to fade away. These shoes are going to get old. They're going to get thrown out, but love conquers all, and we have a God of love. So I'm really grateful for that. Here are the outfits, and so you'll see kind of the whole thing very quickly. hopefully you're getting the gist of it. So cast your vote and then let me know what you liked about the video, what you would like to see more of. And I just pray that you are having a really great day, great life, and I will be seeing you soon. And this last one I just had to throw in there because above all, we put on love. So above all those attributes that are hanging there below my shoe are the blessings of love that conquers all. So thanks for being with me, and I'll see you guys soon.